All right, please, can we start? We think I gave us the next class topic before we ended that class, right? Can anybody remind me? Or let me just run through the slide. Once we get to the one we stop, let me know. We've done this now. We have done this as well. We have also done this, how to load the Excel file with these formats. We have also done this, how to check data width and height. We have done this, how to display only data features, headers, how to check data information using the .info, right? How to describe data sets frame using the describe function. Then data cleaning techniques in Python. Under this, I believe we have done this as well, how to rename specific columns. Then we have also, this is the format, this is the code for renaming your data features. How to drop missing value. Check if we have done this, please. How to drop missing value. We have done it. How to drop missing values. How to drop missing value in a data frame column. We did both for rows and column, dropping of missing value. How to fill missing value. I think we have also done that using the fill now, right? Using the what? The fill now. Then data selection method. Have we covered this? So maybe under this, we have done how to select what? One header from data set. I actually show two different ways, depending on the description of that feature. I think this is where we stop. How to select header with two words. No, we have done this as well. I've done this. I'm very sure this is where we stop. Header words, slicing. Header slicing. So let's start with that. So what is header slicing? Remember, these topics, they are still under what? Data what? Selection. So this is part of analysis. This is not just data cleaning now. So we are entering the analysis aspects now. Because you can be given a data set just like we have here now, just for us to know the essence of this. So supposing I call back data 2. Supposing I call back data 2, just to bring it closer to us. And from this data, as an analyst, maybe all the analysis we want to perform only needs name, age, and probably what? Income. So we don't need what? Followers. We don't need educational or education what? Level. So instead of you populating, or instead of those headers and value populating the data frame, that will end up one way or the other distracting you from focusing on the data to draw the necessary insights. So you can decide to pull out the ones you need. So what we did last time was how to pull out just one. Now, if we want to pull out from name to income, that is slicing. Or we want to pull out name, and then we can jump what? Age, and take what? Followers, and so on. So in case you want to select multiple features and their values from the given data set, you use the header slicing concept. Now, I want us to look at the syntax. The focus should be here. So I want you to write down this syntax, because once I switch from here, you may not have access to it. So while you are writing, let me see if I can be explaining it. So selected under score column is a variable name. So in other words, you are creating a variable, you are creating a different data frame that will store the headers you are assembling. And if you look at it, we are using our square bracket to select those headers. We are selecting them as string because they are actually what? Strings. And that is why they are all quoted. The first one, once you open your square bracket, header 1, command header 2, command header 3. So that is what we are expected to do as the first line. We create a data frame name, and then we use the square bracket to pick the headers we want to pull out from the given data set. Now, that's the next line is just a comment that explains replace with your column names. Now, the next line is a code line where you are creating another variable. So I think I'm just explaining that. Selected data equals to data set name, then select column. Then to print it, you simply call selected underscore data. If you look at this syntax, look at this here. This particular variable where you have collected these three heading and save in is what you now nest here. And then you just call data set name and then use the square bracket to select it. Now, the logic is this. It's a bit logical, but let me explain the logic. Are we done writing so that I can explain to everybody at once? Now, the logic is that you select the number of columns and store them in one variable first. So at the moment, all the 3 columns or 4 or 5 that you must have selected, they are already what? Stored here. I believe that is clear. Now, what we are doing here now, here I created another variable. So this is the main data frame name. This one is just to help me to assemble what? Those columns, those headers together. Now, my data set name, where I am calling those 3 columns from, is this, will be replaced with this. Then, inside the selection, the one that is already what? Holding the 3, you supply it. That's what we did here now. Is that clear? Did you understand it? It's clear. Please. Now, look up. Here is the first variable. This variable is to assemble all the headers, to store all the headers that you are pulling from the data set, right? So as it is now, each time you see this, there are 3 headers inside. Good, already stored there. Now here, you created another variable. Then the idea is that you create another variable, which is your read data, the particular header that you are bringing together. The value that they are holding will be stored in what? In this. Now here is the name of the data set where you are calling these 3 headers from. Then you are now saying that from this data set where I have other header, including these 3, that because I want to be specific with the ones I want to call, which I've already stored in this variable. So you now supply the name of the variable that has retrieved the what? The 3 header. And that is what we have here now. If you check here now, the name here is equal to what? To this. So that is the logic. So now go to your data. Go to your data sets. So let me switch back to my data set. So what we are doing here is multiple data Features or headers selection. That is what we are doing here. So the syntax, make sure everything I'm writing in this cell, you are transferring to your notes. The syntax is the format. So the first thing I'm going to do, let me see if I can explain it better here. The first thing I'm going to do, create a variable to store the selected features or headers values. That is the first thing I want to do here now. And the syntax is, I will just say selected, can be any name, underscore column. Why I'm using column, so that you know that at this point is the column that you are storing. Columns equals to, then I will use my square brackets. Then the columns are string. So let me take the first one. The first column is name. So I want to take name, age, followers, and what? Income. Let's assume. Now you have to follow the case. Each of them start with what? Capital what? Letter. Please, you have to follow it. If you are not sure you're going to follow it, just what? Copy. Just copy. What did I do? Let me just copy this first. Let me take it. Control C. Then I'll paste that here. The comma, another string, age, comma, another string. That was a, let me be sure. Control C. So let's say I'm working with this. So what I've done here, I've executed the statement that say what? Create a variable to store the what? The selected what? Headers. So all these headers are now stored in this. So the next step now is for me to create a data set. So let me also use comment. Now create a data, let me call it frame, to hold the columns and their values. So that is what I want to do now. So to do that, I can give it any name. Well, let's follow what we wrote there. Actually use any name. So let's say selected data is equals to the name of the data set where I am selecting all this column from is data what? 2. Then in other words, from data 2, take this.
from data 2, take this. Instead of us to start defining age, because we are already studying, so that we are not bothering calling their name again because they have been assembled in a what? In a variable. So I will just say what? I'm not quoting this because this is not a string. This is a variable. So now if I run my code now, if it does not output any error, it means I'm good to go. Now, if I want to see the data, who can tell us what to do? Who can tell us what to do? I want to see the data. Who can tell us what to do? Let me use comment. Therefore, to view the new or to view the selected data, to view the selected data, I will just call this name, right? The values are here right now, but because we have not called it, so let's say Control C. And then once I place it here and I run the code, I will see only 3 of them. Look at it. Name, what, age, and what, followers. So this is now another data set. So you have created a sub data set, while the other one is what? The main data set. So there are times you can be given data like this that is very voluminous. So you can create what? Sub data set from it for your for specific analysis. That is the idea of this whole stuff. So let's achieve that together and everybody before we continue. You can actually choose your columns, but we chose name, age, follower. Okay, the syntax. Let me reduce it. I think it's too big, right? Let me reduce. I think it's better like this. Down. Your is not giving you what? Just the header. How? How? Who has confirmed it? Let me confirm. Well, are we working with the same data? Okay. You know, it's like you had that issue the other time too. Oh, look at the syntax. Is it what you did? Let's confirm from other people first before we conclude. Let's go back to the slide. Now, here we want to go into, but before that, before we go into these aspects, let's look at how to display. This time around, you want to select record, not the future, not the features now. For example, let's say from this data, let me see if I have a more voluminous data set to work with outside this. Okay, so I'm going to work with the healthcare data. So let me call. So let's work with the healthcare data now. Or I'm not sure the healthcare data should be the best data to work with. We all have that salary payroll, right? I think I've called it here. Let me check from my. Please call this data. Thought I used to have the salary payroll. We have it now. Let me see if I can get my own. Not sure is this one. So I'm going to work with the salary payroll. So make sure you have that same data. Let me go and sort out mine. You know, I have it somewhere here. Salary data. It's in a Excel format. All right, so now this is an Excel format, not CSV, and I want to load it. Remember, I taught us how to load Excel format. So it means that now, going forward, if you are given data sets in form of a CSV or Excel, it's not less for you. You can use Excel formula of a format. So let me just take the parts. As usual, let me just copy the parts and go back to my notebook. So here we want to start what we call exploratory analysis. So we are starting analysis here now, main analysis, and we are starting with exploratory analysis. Now remember what I taught us, you have to create another heading like this. Create two hash, make sure that it's in capital letter. So the description is exploratory analysis using Python aggregate function. So escape, press M, shift and enter to convert it to what? To notes. So let's break it like this. For this is a marvelous class. This is going to be a revision. We have done all this. So here I want to call my data, the data we are working with here. So create data frame, create data frame, and my data frame is, let's say, salary is equals to bd dot read underscore Excel, because I'm using Excel function. then string, then paste the name of the file. Then run it. If it has put error, then change the URL. We have done something like that before. So remove this, put 2 dots. So I want to troubleshoot why put 2 dots. I think my file extension is not complete. I should have another S here. So let me check what the error is saying. So if my notebook is having issue with it, then I will just simply use only the name. So let me come here. I will have added underscore or one name. So let me go back to the root data and edit it. So Python is not good handling spaces between your descriptions. So let me locate that folder. There's a folder again, notebook something. Where is the folder now? Okay. Okay. So I'm just coming here to rename it. Just rename it. So now that I've renamed it, I have to go back to my notebook and check if that has. Okay, so let me go back and see. I'm just troubleshooting if that is the error. At the end of the day, if my notebook is having issue with this, I will switch back to CSV. Now, since it's a single name, let me just use just that name. Just that name. Okay, so after this one, if it doesn't work, I'll go and change it to CSV and save my time from all this. Let me check what it's saying now. Okay, so I think it's the format. So now you can see the issue you are having here now. Let's solve this issue. The issue is not from here, it's from the file itself. It was saved with a particular year, which is not the current year. So let me go back to, where is it again here? This, in case you are having this issue. If I open it now, you can see that the logo is different from the logo. Good. So that is 97. So I will change it to pure worksheets so that it can carry that other S. Does anybody still have an issue with the previous one? Okay. Eh? Which one is that one? So save as, I'm redirecting it here. You can see this is the reason why we're having the issue. Look at the version that is showing here. So instead of us changing to what? Excel what? Workbook. So that we carry that S. So with that, we should be good to go now. So if I come back here, so I have to recopy the part now. I have to recopy the part. You can see that it has carried what? The S. So I have to recopy the parts. Have I passed it? So let me paste it here. So I believe even if it throws error now, and I use my relative method, it should work. If I just say dot dot, this should be able to work now. Good. So now let me display the what? The data as salary. So we have the data here now. Now, let's assume that the way we were able to select what? Columns. You know, we selected name, follower, and the other header the other time. Now, let's assume that from this data set, we want to work with the first, because I'm very sure that this data is about what? 150 what? Record. And I'm not asked to analyze the whole of the 150. Maybe I'm also analyze the first 40. So I want to extract the first 40 from this 150. So how do I display that? I'm going to do that using a function called dot head. Dot what? Head. So I will use a function called dot head. Now the syntax is that your data set name follow. Let me highlight the syntax. So once I'm done with this, everybody will do that for me. The syntax is your data set or data frame name, then dot that head. Now, if you leave it, if you not supply any input, let's say 10 or 20 inside that bracket, it will display only the first 4 from that data. So let's try it now with that data. So it will now become what? Salary dot what? Dot head. So I am not specifying any number. So if I run it to display only what? The first 4. Now, it means that I have to store this in a valid what? Data frame, because this becomes a different data set now that I'm working with. So for me to hold it, to store it in a frame, I will just add the data frame name here. I will say what? Let's say salary underscore subsets equals to. So if I now want to display it, I will just take this, Control C, Control V, and then run. Now I have the data in a valid what? Data frame that I can work with. Now, what I want to modify here, we want to get the first 40. That is what we want to get, right? The first 40, not 4. So I'll put the 40 inside and run it. So I will now have what? The first 40. So this is what? The first 40. So let's achieve this before. Let me zoom in. Yes. I should come? Okay. Okay, so so introduction to exploratory analysis with aggregate functions. So we have a lot of functions here. So let's just step into it today. All right. Now, when we say aggregate function, they are actually referred to as functions. Eh? Exploratory analysis using Python aggregate functions. So I wanted to give us a summary of how to describe this set of functions, so I will know the kind of analysis we want to go into. Let's write aggregate analysis or exploratory analysis. Aggregate analysis or exploratory analysis is a technique or are techniques used under descriptive analysis. I said they are what? Techniques used under descriptive analysis. Now remember when we started this program, you were told that we have different types of analysis, right? Can anybody remind us? I know for those that are familiar with me, I mentioned 4 of them. I also pointed out the questions that each of them attend to, right? So under descriptive analysis, what kind of question do you think will arise? When you perform descriptive analysis, what type of analysis question you probably answer? What happened? Good. What happened? Now, there is another one which we call what? Diagnostic what? Analysis. What kind of question would that word generate? How did it happen? That is what we are interested in knowing what? The process, right? What lead to? Now, we also have another one which is prescriptive, right? Prescriptive analysis. That one analyzes what? Analyzes what? What will happen next? No, that is predictive analysis. Somebody will say something. I think that one is correct. Prescriptive analysis. Prescriptive analysis. Prescriptive analysis. What kind of question would that one answer? What? What will happen next? What will happen next? Remember the first one answer the question, what happened, right? How did it happen? The predictive, what will happen? Now, prescriptive, that is what we are looking for now. Prescriptive. Sorry, I think I skipped one now. What happened is descriptive, right? Sure. How did it happen is what? Diagnostic. Then what will happen is what? Predictive. Now we are looking for prescriptive. Find out. So if you look at the word prescriptive, that's what you are prescribing. Good. What should we do? What should we do? Let's say you have answered the question of how did it happen? Now you have noted what? How it happened, right? Now, what will you do to prevent it? Prevent it if it is negative. Okay, now all these set of aggregate functions we are looking into, they are used for exploratory analysis. Exploratory analysis is a technique under descriptive analysis where we draw insights, where we exploit the data to get what? Insights. That is what we want to exploit the data. It's just like when you say you want to exploit the ground for crude oil. That is what? You want to till the ground. You are looking for something. So you can also exploit data. And for you to exploit data for insights, you need aggregate function. Most of these, they are also referred to as what? Group by for categorical data analysis or for single metric analysis. Single metric analysis is just like, let me switch to this data now. Supposing I am asked to get the total what? Basic what? Salary. That is single metric. the answer I'm going to get what? One line what? Value. Now, categorical analysis will be where you compare, where you summarize what? The basic salary per what? The unique value under what? Department. So you are doing what we call comparison what? Analysis as well. So you can actually answer this type of question using what? The aggregate what? Functions in Python. We have them even in SQL. For those of you that have finished SQL, you should also have to know them. Sum, count, average, all these, they are what? Aggregate what? Function. So let's start with them. So this is the general introduction. Data aggregation is often used to provide statistical analysis. Data aggregation is often used to provide statistical analysis for groups of people, and to create useful summary data for business analysis. So most time, the business analysis you hear is majorly what? Using aggregate what? Function. Because at some point, you want to analyze the total profit you generate, right? And that is still aggregate. So just to explain further, aggregation is often done on a large scale. That is where you need this. Through software is known as what? Data aggregator. So we can stop at that aggregator. Or you can write everything. I think it might be useful, but if you stop at aggregator, we can see. Once you are through writing, let me know. So I can go to the next slide. All right, so let's look at the first one, summation. So we are starting with the summation function. So just to explain what is summation. When a large number of data are given, and sometimes some total of the values is required, the summation is needed here. Many times we need to calculate many terms of a sequence. So just to summarize this in a simple definition, the summation function is for summarizing what? Data. Simple as that. So I have a question here, a task. So it might not align with the data set we are working with, but I've defined the syntax. So we'll just be replacing some of this with our current data information. Now here we have a task. And what is the task? What is the total revenue? So if I want to relate it here, it will not be what? It can be what is the total what? Basic salary. So let me go back to the slide and explain it. Now this DA here is a data set what? Name. That is, from this data set, you are selecting what? Basic salary. So this total will now be replaced with what? Basic salary. Then you now concatenate what? This sum function. That is what? Select all the values here and use this function to what? To add them up. So that's a simple syntax. So let's write the syntax. Total now is, so based on our data sets, we can change this if you are writing, please. so that you align with what you want to do. If you are working with the salary data, let it be what is the total basic salary instead of revenue. If you are working with another data, look for where you have value. So when you are writing the formula here or the function, then you write what? The DA here, you can still write it like this, since I've already labeled it. Data set what? Name. Hello? Hello? Alpha. Alpha. Hello? So have we written the function down? You write it, this and label it so that to be clear for you. All right, so let's go for the implementation. So here, let me use comment. Please always use comment to explain what you are doing in your notebook. So here, application of dot sum function for exploratory analysis. So here I will select the data. I think I'm working with to a salary. So let's say salary, like the syntax I just showed us now. Salary, select, that is from salary, select, just to be precise with the header. I think your data will be better than my own now because you have changed all your header to single description. So let me go and copy. Let me try my log. Let me try my log, whether it will work. Let me try my log. Control V. Okay. Then I am adding the function dot what? Sum. And then and run. Good. So I get my value. So that is the total. So you go to your slide where you are writing your executive report. You note it down. So now let me store this in a valid what? Because I can still do some calculation later. I can be asked to add the summation of this plus what? The average of another analysis. So let me store it in a valid data set. So I'll simply say what? Total sum. Let me not use capital letter. Total underscore sum is equals to. Then I have to run it. Control C. And then execute. So once we have executed, let me know so that I can switch to the other slide. You can see that all these ones does not carry any condition. We will get to the one with condition. Like when you are doing some if, average if. These ones are the one that does not require what? Condition. You are adding everything.
Press something that's saying one password. Press something that's saying one password. Press something. No, I think of 3 running. Python don't preoccupy my mind. What is software? Software inside. Software how long
All right, so let's go back to the slides. So the next one is what? Average function. Where is it here? Average function. Average function. Now, we don't have any inbuilt function in Python called what? Average. Instead, we replace it what? Mean. So the mean, which is the same thing as what? Average of data, sets or data set is found by adding all numbers in the data set, then dividing by the number of values in the data set. So it's something we have already known. If you are asked to find the average of 10 numbers, we have to add them together, divide by what? 10. So that is what it's going to do for us. So let's quickly look at the syntax. You see, this is the only place we are changing. That place of sum. So let's assume that we are asking that same question, but this time around is the average. So the question will now be what? Find the average or analyze the average of what? Basic what? Salary. What is the average of basic salary? So that is our analysis question. So write down the syntax, then I switch to my notebook. All right, so now let's go and make sure you are writing the question also in your notebook, if possible. So here, analyze the total average. The total average basic salary. Analyze the total average basic salary. So this time around, let me just start by creating my data frame name, which is total underscore average underscore basic salary is equals to salary as my data set. From salary, select string, same basic salary. Control C. Paste. Okay, I'm attaching main. It's a function. Now to display, I'll just call my variable name. Control C. All right. So let's say we want to calculate the difference between, let's say we want to calculate the difference between the sum of basic salary and the average what? Salary. Who can tell us what to do? We want to know the difference between the summation we did earlier on and this one. What do we do? Can anybody give us that information?
The first one is sum, the second one is mean.
Oh yeah, apply it.
They are different now, you know.
How do you know? What is the value? We subtract them from each other. That is the difference we're talking about. Are they giving us the same value? The first one is 194 now, right? So let's say we are asked to subtract them from each other. What do we do? Because that is the reason why we are actually storing them in the valid data frame.
Normal one.
Oh yeah, do it.
Normal one.
Get me the results. Who has gotten it?
I think they put down some. I told you the name.
And you got an answer, right? Good. So I actually brought this so that we know why we are saving them in variable. Because if you are not saving them in variable, you cannot do this because you're only displaying their results. The comment is calculate the difference between, calculates the difference between some total basic salary and some average basic salary.
Let me just abbreviate it here and average.
So I will just call this. So I will just say minus, which one should be the higher value? Let me start with the first one, right? This one is the higher value. Control C. Remind me. Control C. I'll just say ans,
like answer, because I want to store the value in another variable.
minus
So let me call ans. All right.
That's not, it's not being.
Hmm?
That's not business coming from.
You want to remove them. You abbreviate now when you are submitting your report. You understand?
When you're submitting your report, you don't have to write. You are going to summarize all this out. This is not what you are going to present.
So we stop here today.
Yes.
I can now collect offers.
If
You are laughing.
If you trust yourself,
What have to be following like this? I think that we have this much.